Hello, this is FG, back with Anbennar, and today we are going to be doing a hot off the press new nation. Okay. When I say, hot off the press, I mean that this nation was just added literally a few hours ago. And, they're still, well, a few hours ago. It was added, like, at 7 a.m. today. Okay, so, let's read through this. The cataclysmic day of ashen skies forced the survivors of ancient Aeordan into the Domrod, where they were met with open arms by the Fae spirits. For countless years, the precursor survivors served the Fae's loyal attendants and began to worship them as guiding masters. The first Aeordan Ruinborn were born of this connection, being steeped in magic from the Domendrad, being halfway into the Fae realm. The Aeordan were taught a series of rules to live by, finding harmony through respecting the laws of nature. This apprenticeship did not last. For a century or so, the Fae became tired of tending to these mortals. The Aeordan people told that it was an honor and privilege to return to the lands of their forefathers, not an eviction. Aeordan was settled by the Fae-touched Aeordan anew, for only very few survived outside the Domendrad. For centuries, the lands were inhabited by semi-unified tribes who revered the Fae and respected the seasons equally as they were taught under the Aeordalan religion. Those who did not balance the season or rejected the Fae were exiled to the south, becoming the Fograk. However, over time, the most talented of the Aeordan druids learned that by focusing on one season, they could channel far greater power, and that some regions of this land were attuned specifically to one season above all else. Very few Ruinborn were found in Aeordan that were not from the Dromarod, with the exception of the Armor Dahi, who were driven out of the eastern Ranskroon coast. The balance of these seasons upset. The seasonal courts of Aeordan were created and Aeordan splintered. The schism erupted in war amongst the heretics against the infuriated loyal Aeordalan. The original Pelodan Orthsworn swore an oath to the Fae to end the schism and bring order to the seasons and unite the newly formed Patar tribes who were loyal to the Aeordalan against the seasonal courts. Pelodan Oathsworn saw repeated victories and pushed back the seasonal courts to their far-flung strongholds until they were united against him. Pelodan and the Patar alliance were defeated by the seasonalists near Karankal. With the death of Pelodan, the Patar tribes were splintered forever. The Hibernal Crusade, the everlasting struggle of Tuthok to end the tyranny of winter, saw great success in the early 15th century, resulting in the establishment of Yorgashir and Sleghall. However, the crusade was stopped in its tracks by the intervention of the Strutumar Patar, slaying their leader, Alwaran Winter's Wrath, shattering the authority of Aghard over the Hibernal state. The child prodigy Imrael Winter's Wrath has taken leadership of the once docile Gemradcurt, ready to defend and defeat the Tuthok invaders. How will you leave your mark on Aeordan? Will you bring unity and balance back to Aeordan under the Aeordalan, or will you champion the strongest seasons to its deserved greatness? We're Wintercourt. We are a theocracy. You can read that. We can leave all the regions on. Imrael considered the words of the scout as she sent them out. A renegade band of a few hundred Hibernal crusaders, the marauding remains of that bloody war. When Imrael had driven out the Tuthok from the Gemradcurt and Patar had killed Harvest Crowned at Minarak, many presumed the Hibernal Crusade, the existential threat to winter, had consumed the north of Aeordan, was over and done with. Imrael knew better. The Tuthok would not stop until the Wintercourt was exterminated. Even now, remnants of the autumnal armies still remained in Snegboth territory, looting and killing to their heart's content. They had to go on the offensive and see winter secure. That was for certain. A man's voice, slow-paced and clear as ice, interrupted her musing. Imrael turned to the man, face the sound. Before her stood an elven-looking man, his skin a pure white and his hair a bright eyes an icy blue, clad in furs and ornate snow-white armor. He was beautiful, appearing as some divine link between winter and elvenkind. The Everfrost Prince, her patron, stood before her, an archfey. You will ride out against the autumn, but do not forget what I told you before. Beyond the means of destruction lies a far higher power. Imriel nodded affirmingly, turning back to her desk to retrieve a quill and paper. Orders. The partnership between Imrael and the Everfrost Prince had been long and fruitful. Whether the prince's influence or her own extraordinary powers came first, she did not know, but from her earliest day, Imrael could remember the soft words and harsh advice of the Archfey. She had called him the Frostman back then, before she knew of his true nature and power. It was he that spurred her to push past the deaths of her parents with grim determination, to seize power from the militarist faction that thought they could control her, to push back the Tuthak and embark on this final journey, and luck willing, he would be by her side when she seized the ultimate tool that would secure Gemradcurt forever. Eternal power will be ours. Okay, so first we have to Yorgashir, Rito Crab, and Gelkol. Okay, so build up to force limit. And we will take we'll take a merchant's child just for the money. We probably won't actually end up needing any allies. Or any heir, sorry. Where's Slag Call? Okay, I can take Slag Call. Oh damn, that's cool. Yep, take that. Alrighty. We are rivaled with Gelkol, right? Relation action, send an insult. Yes, also send an insult to them. United in winter. Okay. We will make... Ooh. Oh, that's an especially spicy mage. When the hated autumn first began their forays into our lands, the winter court stood disunited, seemingly oblivious to the mortal peril they were in. Even as the realms of the east fell and as the Tuthak despoiled our native lands, the nations of the north fought alone. Too proud to see that united they would stand a far better chance. It cost us dearly. And yet, even now, with autumn's unity shattered at the Minarak, many within our sister realms of Gelkol and Riotokrab have seemingly put down their arms and refused to take steps necessary to protect our way of life. And to make matters worse, there are even whispers that Gelkol would dare to consort with the enemy in Wraithhall. To Imriel, this disturbing news has shown her clearly what is to be done. If the winter is to be saved, the winter must be united. And if that must be brought about by force, so be it. Okay. Yep. There we go. If was not... I probably... If I was not recording this, I probably would have rerolled then. How many ships do they have? No, I don't want to send that out. Cast Siege Magic. What do we got? Alrighty. There we go. And Siege Magic. Greater Fireball. Oop. That was unusually lucky. I know probably most of you actually play EU4, so you'd understand how unlikely I was to get that. Like 7% siege. Yeah. Yeah. Rarely ever actually see that. I'll take that. I'll do that. Typically you want to try and keep Fey alignment in the middle, because I believe you get negative events. Okay. So let's do that. Take the money. And then take that and the money. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and kill that army. Alrighty. Time to improve relations with my vassals, because they hate me. It is done. With Gelko and Rito Crab under our control, and all of the independent nations of the Snegboth stand under Imrael's control. Now there is only one thing left to do. Strike back. The banners will be raised, arms retrieved, mounts readied, and all the Truthok will know that bloody vengeance is upon them. Okay. We will core that, because I believe that's already a full core. So yes, what is there to talk about with Aeordan? This is probably the most valuable area in the late game, because of that. Look at all these. Look at all this. This isn't even all of them. But more of precursor relics actually end up spawning before the game ends. Okay. Yorgashir. Expel the invaders. I'm actually going to dissolve that alliance. For some reason I thought these guys, I think those guys may have been, what's it called? Winter's Court in previous versions. Hey, 21% siege. Yep, stack wipe. Is it possible? Might be possible for us just to annex. All of these in one war. Okay, we're getting that sieged. Bueno. Yeah, I'm sorry that I have such an erratic upload schedule. Other things in life sort of take priority, and sometimes I just have to do other stuff and am not really in a good mindset to really record. Okay, ruler magic, necromancy, study magic. Spend more effort. Oh yes, I forgot to handle these boys. What do I want to hand out? Religious culture. We gotta do that. Expansionist zealotry. Gotta do that. One thing that I probably should mention that isn't a thing right now, but will eventually be a thing in future updates, is that there will be a system wherein you pledge yourself to a Fae god, and you'll get bonuses based on which Fae you pledge yourself to. Okay, so that is all the boys. Do I have to keep those forts? Okay, I don't think I have to keep those forts. I'll keep that one. I'll get rid of this one. Okay, and go do that. Take that. Dead trial at Darblath. The news of Aegard's great disaster at Minarak was good to be sure, but despite the death of their ruler, Andral Harvest Crown, their city stood tall, and they have been recovering their strength ever since. But the ice-warded walls of Darblath are not unbreakable. With the winter united, it is time for Gemradcurt to lead the charge in destroying one of its most perfidious foes. And of course, Imrael has her own mission. As her power grows, spurred on by the Everfrost Prince, she has gained access to even greater arcane power, especially in the forbidden field of necromancy. While she used some of this during her initial counterattack against the Autumn, she has yet to trial these powers on a large scale, and the devastated remains of Darblath seem just the place. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna refund that. Snow fell as the Tigan orders piled the last of the Tuthak bodies before her. The taking of Darblath had been extremely costly, with the ice-warded walls of the city giving Imriel a great challenge, but in time they had fallen before her and her forces, and the city was now under Snegboth control once again. Despite the cost, however, the Everfrost Prince had taught her something. Behind every victory on the field lay another hidden success. As her arcane powers grew, it became necessary for her to trial her newfound abilities on increasingly grander scales in preparation for what the Everfrost Prince had assured her would be a most taxing ritual. And so, after Darblath had fallen, Imriel had ordered her soldiers to gather as many of the dead warriors in the city together as they could. The result was a horrific affair, and though the bodies had been frozen through magic to stop much of the decay, the sight of so many dead still brought uneasiness upon some of the assembled officers. But Imriel knew, of course, that such a display paled in comparison to the number killed by the Tuthak. This was merely their punishment. Imriel's guards turned with a start as a white elk approached from behind, and when she turned herself, however, she waved them off as the rider dismounted. He was the Everfrost Prince, disguised as an antlered white helmet over his head to conceal his otherworldly appearance. He leaned close to Imriel and spoke with his usual glacial demeanor. "There's only the beginning. When you have reached the heights of your power, you shall be able to command the very world as you would these soldiers. Remember this." Imriel nodded, stepping forward as the Everfrost Prince watched on alongside her bodyguards. She raised her arms. The blue glow of magic engulfed the square as limbs within the tangle of bodies began to twitch and shudder. Soon there was true movement, unnatural, stiff movement, as if the bodies were being puppeted by some invisible master from above. Then the pile came alive as hundreds, then thousands of undead began to reanimate fully. Imriel strained under the stress of the spell, as her head began to ache and her arms began to burn with exertion. But soon enough she managed to wrestle full control of the assembled host. A few commands, and the mass before her had moved into some grim imitation of an organized force. Imriel smiled. Okay. So, Right Hall. Most of the lands we're conquering are correct culture, although we will have to convert some areas. Alrighty. Or Carter. And while we are not fighting or doing anything else important, increase relations with subject countries. And what else? More infantry. And lower the forts. You can also collect from trade here. And what is our fleet like? These guys, we won't need any transports for a long time. And these can protect trade in Igrass. Okay. So for right now, we are just going to wait for these things to core up. We will end up fighting Strumtar. Okay, these guys shouldn't be able to get mill access. These guys will. These guys won't be able to get mill access either. Develop your nation. Powerful merchant. Okay. Alrighty, core that. And we can begin. Force religious unity, conversion. And then we can core this up. Should be feeling a little bit better right now. Economically, at least. We're going to build 2 more soldiers, and we're going to start marching on our various, or the Aelantir enemies, and obliterate them. Because it is our destiny to control Aerodan. Might as well call in Trimguard. Siege magic. There we go. Actually, let me just do that real quick. Harder. Yeah. See, they won't be able to come from Idath. We might actually be able to get mill access, though, if we need it. Oh yeah, I forgot to show off what the actual religious or culture map modes are. For anyone who hasn't played. I'm not sure if that popped up in the video. Yeah, basically for those of you who aren't familiar with Aerodan, each culture corresponds with a religion. Snebkoth corresponds with Winter Court, Tuthak is Autumn Court, Paytar is Aerodelen, Selpfreg is Spring Court, and Kamos is Summer Court, along with Fograk being a sort of the unimportant guys. Paytar are spread out across the map, and so are Tuthak. Snegbekoth is concentrated in the north, Slepreg in the west, and Kamos in the south. Fun fact about these guys, they're literally flower people. Like, they have flowers growing out of them. Once we conquer those areas, and we might have the chance to see some of their advisor portraits, they actually have flowers growing out of them. So that's something. I'm also not 100% sure if we end up getting access to the drum rod. Because, oh, I'm not going to spoil it too much. We should hopefully be able to take everything, along with this. We'll probably get access from them. Yeah, there we go. Once I finish this war, let me cast just a firebolt. Fireball, sorry. Not a firebolt. Okay, so that's that province converted to the correct culture. We can probably knock these guys out. No? Maybe if I kill their army real quick. No? What if I go destroy their army and sit on their capital? Yep. There we go. God damn it. I guess we're paying for our good lucks earlier in the campaign. We can move up north. And what are we looking at study-wise? A little bit more to go. Shoot a firebolt real quick. Fireball, sorry. I don't know why I keep calling it firebolt. I guess my mind is, for some reason, combining fireball and lightning bolt. Okay. Take that. And finally, take that. Get rid of that fort and that fort. Start coring everything. Mission on the high seas. Right now, this is really just a, I guess I can go, well, we're going to be fighting a lot of wars. I'll get the manpower recovery speed. Now, these guys are all alone. I don't remember all the nations in Aerodan having forts. I guess that's a new thing. Because it seems like every nation here has a fort now. That's the Claiming Corps. I believe we'll inherit these two nations eventually, which was what that 10-year event was. Also going to do that, and I can get about 3,200 manpower out of it. This is already stated. That's stated. Guess it's just this area that needs to be stated. In this area. Yep. That'll be it. We won't have to worry about anyone coming from this area for a very long time. And we can also rival them and rival them. And I'm just going to put my army right here and turn them on suppress rebels. Okay, now what do we need? Expel the invaders. All provinces and Yorgums here. Fantastic. Alrighty. And ruler magic menu. Taigan Order. Reduced research regulations. That should get us loyalty. Okay, religiously, not looking great. It will get better, though. Great Feast of Diet. The great halls of the village of Diet, a massive host was assembled. Hundreds of Snegkoft warriors, nobles, and burghers had joined Imrael in the winter hand, and Windstrider rulers of Gelkol and Retokrab in celebration of the unity of the Winter Court and the Snegkoth people in their fight against that's a mistake. That should be autumn. Meat, drink, and merriment was abound. Even Imrael, normally stoic and always fixated on some goal or other, seemed totally at ease. But as with that stoic and calm demeanor, this was but a facade over her true feelings. In truth, she was nervous. There were constant rumblings in her circles about the disloyalty of Gemradcurt's comrades in arms, and some even wished for them to be brought under Imrael's personal control entirely. And of course, there were many among the vassals' people that chafed under the Taigan's order's control. When one of these advisors, a high-ranking member of the Taigan Order, had approached her the night before with a plan to wipe out the leadership of Gelkol and Retokrab at the Great Feast and secure Gemradcurt's authority over the north in one fell swoop, she had waved him away. But she had not denied him. She knew, even as she played Mary, the merry ally of the two ducads on the dice, many Gemradcurters in the room had their eyes on her, waiting for a signal to strike. Abruptly, Imrael stood up and called for quiet. The Gemradcurters did so quickly, as if they had just been ordered to do so by a commanding officer. Spelling error. Again, literally a brand new tree. But Belkolers and Retokrab took some time to get settled. She raised her glass to the assembled Snegkoth, 10 years ago, the nations of the North joined together to stand against the autumnal invaders, and since then we have fought alongside each other as siblings. We've gained victory after victory, and we are now at the precipice of securing the future of the Wintercourt Court forevermore. The halls erupted into cheers. After it died down, Imriel continued. But still there exist divisions among us, cracks in the unity that has been so essential to our success. Imriel saw one of the officers on the table place a hand on her sword. She only had to say the word, and the room would erupt into blood. But that ends today. At this feast in this hall we shall build a brighter future together and strengthen the machine that will destroy the Tooth Axe once and for all. We can only do that. Move up this way for no particular reason. Under the flag of Gemradcurt and my personal command. Did that say 6,000 rebels? I felt like that said 6,000 rebels. No, that's the wrong... Yorgish here. We'll wait a little bit before actually taking that. Okay, we can get rid of that. Alrighty. Oh yes, that's also a thing that can happen. Sometimes provinces will just kind of randomly flip. Just because... Or they'll flip to a different religion. Expel the invaders. For years, the autumnal realms of Yorgashir and Slegkal have occupied lands that belonged to our people for 1,000 years, but with our recent victories over them, their territories have once again returned to their rightful owners. Despite this, however, there still remains a sizable minority of both autumn worshippers and Tuthok folk themselves. If these lands have to be truly restored to their former beauty, these invaders must be expelled. Okay, so that converts the culture of all these areas, and also the religion. That is great. Enter alone. Okay, so that's Dungat. That should be the right province. I'm not sure if there will be a rebellion here or something, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. When Harvest Crown and the other leaders of the Crusade lay dead at Minarak, crushed by the surprise attack of the Strumari Paytar, the people of Gemradcurt had celebrated most joyously, and Imriel's comrades had asked her to join in the festivities. She had declined. Give me a second. She had declined, feigning tiredness, but in reality she was simply shocked. The decades-long struggle against the hated autumn had been ended by the Paytar hands, not by that of a Snegboth. For a time, Imriel was thankful, but as Strumari's grip on the Sneggoth lands of Immat and Fasclan tightened, her mood soured. Now the path forward has become clear to her. Winter alone must secure its future, not rely on the charity of those who would otherwise seek to shackle it. The land under Strumar's control must be taken by force, but after that, who can say what is to happen to its Paytar occupiers? Outside the fortress of Dungat, the Paytar messengers waited for a reply with bated breath. The will of the Strumari had been broken, and they were willing to surrender entirely. Gazing at the fortress in the distance, wall breaking and surrounded by Snegboth soldiers and reanimated Paytar alike, Imriel opened her mouth to speak, but Captain Ishura, a trusted supporter and lieutenant, had joined the order at a similar age as Imriel, albeit as a novice trainee, interjected. Imriel, we should take their offer. It is no use storming the city if we can take it peacefully, and besides, these folk helped us in that hibernal crusade. It was the Strumari who killed Harvest Crown at Menarak. Where is Menarak? Right here. What's the use in another voice interrupted Escher. As another of her lieutenants, Captain Talron, rose to speak. Where were the Paytar when they invaded us in the first place? They only attacked when the damned Tuthak had been looting our lands for decades, and not to mention Immat and Falksklan. Unless you think Imriel's birth town was rightfully Strumari land, then I think you ought to— Enough! Imriel's curt command cut off Talron immediately, as Ishura stepped back from her impending escalation, crossing her arms. Imriel knew that the Paytar had done Winter a great service at Menarak and had seized Fasclan and Immat from the Tuthak invaders, not Snegboth states. But their refusal to return the province and their rejection of the supremacy of Winter did pose a problem. Who knew what these folks would not want? Who knew That's a weirdly worded. Who knew that these folks would not one day pose a threat to Winter's security? Imriel stepped towards the messenger. I've made up my mind to surrender denied. Okay. That. Now I need to figure out how to get these guys up to 50. Yeah, I don't really care. Alrighty, Wintercourt united. With the lands of the North united, it is time for Imriel and the Taigan Order to set about another one of their goals, the reformation of the Snegboth faith. For too long, the tenets of the Wintercourt have been weak, passivity and defensiveness, patience and inactivity that nearly fatally weakened us when we faced our most bitter struggle against the autumn. Over the years, the people of Winter have begun to break out of that mindset, with Imriel leading the charge in Gemradcurt. But the time has come to spread this new worship of Winter across our realm, so that we may never again face a disaster like the Hibernal Crusade. Speaking of conversions, let's get rid of that. That's good. Yeah. Siracion. So, religiously, we're looking good. We only got some Aerodellon areas that we're not totally supposed to have down here. Some just random spring cord up here, and that's it. Yeah. Okay. Let me just... where is that? Okay. Time to begin developing this area for the Renaissance. But first, we need mill tech. Okay. Take patronage of the magical arts. Okay. Well, that's going to be it for today. I have something else to do, so I'm just going to call it here at 51 minutes. Have a good day.